The Late Morning Program with Nam Ras Podcast.
Hare Krishna, everyone. You're listening to the Nam Ras Podcast, the #1 Hare Krishna podcast in the world. I'm so delighted to have His Holiness Hanumat Presaka Swami Maharaj. Maharaj, thank you so much for joining me.
Mm-hmm. It's an honor, I'm sure. Yeah.
So Maharaj has been traveling, as a sannyasi for now how many years, Maharaj?
Boy, oh boy. I guess since about 84.
84. I was born in 85.
Okay, yeah.
So very long time now, and I'm sure Maharaj has so many different realizations to share, the projects he's working on, and so many things that we can talk about. But first, Maharaj, I wanted to start out. How did you come in contact with Krishna consciousness?
Krishna consciousness. That's a question you get a lot. A lot. And I keep thinking that really I was Krishna conscious, God conscious, from the time I was a child, like that, And that happened because I was born in America where we trust in God, something like that. So my mother had some marginal Christian, commitment.
Right.
And my father was basically an agnostic guy, but very hardworking and honest, So anyway, my mother taught me as a little child the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And I would say that every night, like about from 2 years old or 3 years old. And as I was going through things, the neighbor's dog died, neighbor's dog, Susie. And of course I was, realizing for the first time, oh, this is death, and I was afraid. And I wasn't eating very properly, and my parents were a little worried about it. But I knew they couldn't help, even at that age. But then I was saying these prayers, and I began to actually think about what I was saying, and then I came, okay, there appears to be somebody who's watching out for us, So different experiences in Christianity, different people. My godmother, Gladys Boyd, and looking this way and that way, and probably from previous life, So finally, at the University of California Davis campus, one devotee was selling books, Buddhimanta, I think. And I bought the Krishna book, 2 volumes, big book. He sold me the second volume. And I was reading
just the second volume.
Yeah, I didn't know that because it's in the first story is the Maharaj Satrajit, the
Right.
jewel, Shamtaka
Sure.
jewel, says this incident took place after the previous chapter.
Right.
And I was looking at it. I was even trying to maybe, pull open the little paper on the edge. And, finally I noticed in the back it said volume 2.
All right.
So when I was reading it, I read a lot of science fiction before and things like that. And what Prabhupada was describing in the Bhagavatam when Jarasandha, attacks, Mathura, and the arms were seaweeds and the elephants were islands and everything chopped up and all. It was the most outrageous, stuff it equaled any science fiction I'd read. But simultaneously, Prabhupada was presenting the idea of monotheism, God in a very rational, broad sense. And never met anybody who made such a nice presentation. So on the one hand, this guy was presenting this very cogent, rational philosophy about, monotheism, worshiping God. On the other hand, he's presenting that all these stories in the Krishna book were actually true, So at one point, my mind was saying, this is either the biggest lie I've ever read, or it's the absolute truth. And so my intelligence said to my mind, if it's an absolute lie or the absolute truth, in either case, it's absolute. And I was like, wow, it's fact. Because then I was realizing this book was just, completely different than anything else I'd read. It was absolute, a truth that cannot be dissolved. So that was I got it pretty much like that. Then I started visiting the temple in San Francisco, and eventually got initiated in that process. But basically, it was contact with Prabhupada.
And you were affiliated with the BI? Was that from the very beginning, or?
No, it was growing, and actually, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj Prabhupada told him to send a letter to all the temples asking for the names of anybody who had bachelor's degrees. And as I understand now, my temple president got that and then diverted it, so I never got it. And asked Swarup Maharaj to preach to me not to get involved in these things,
Right.
And so somehow or other, when Maharaj, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj came to San Francisco with the BI, and that's when I got involved. And that was, I guess, 84.
And you had a bachelor's degree in what?
I started in electrical engineering, but that was limited. Talked to my professors. It's the Vietnam War, and all this stuff's coming of mysticism and so many things. So then I changed to biological engineering, did brain surgery on rats, and then that was limited also. Chemical models rather than electronic models. Okay. And so then I changed to psychology, and that was also limited in terms of how they were dealing with the mind. But by then I had to graduate. So I graduated with the first place prize in psychology, Phi Beta Kappa, and minor studies in biology and electrical engineering. I applied to Northwestern, UCLA. They both said, come on, we'll give you a full fellowship. Tried something different, went to Chicago. My mentor was president of the American Psychological Association. He said, this is a career track. You're not going to do anything creative until you're 45 years old. If you have any manly qualities, you'll go ahead and just try and go directly to ashrams. Just try it out. Maybe you'll sleep under bushes a few times. So he gave me the real impetus. And that's when I started heading east and different stuff. And eventually, I guess, I'm not sure if I got the book after that. I think I got the book after that. But then the whole thing, I headed east and eventually, moved into the temple in San Francisco.
Are you still affiliated with the BI? The Bhaktivedanta Institute, are you still affiliated with it?
No, because see, the main thing was that ultimately my nature is like cultural anthropology.
Explain that for us. What does that mean?
Well, anthropos means human beings. You're studying human beings.
Right.
Physical anthropology means studying the DNA, the bones, all this kind of stuff.
Right.
But cultural anthropology means how. See, it would be either social psychology or cultural anthropology. They kind of overlap. For example, acoustics and sound and how space perception is a very good one. Different cultures have different perception of space. It's the way they organize space and see it and perceive it like that. It's a whole big topic. And so, the cultural anthropology deals with the different cultures and how they're experiencing these kind of things in terms of space perception and these kind of areas. So it's a very scientifically investigatable area, but it doesn't have to be in terms of atoms and molecules and strict, Euclidean geometry and so on.
So cultural anthropology in relation to like the Vedas or Krishna consciousness?
Well, that was kind of my nature.
Okay.
Strictly psychology, trying to be, especially in the West, it's difficult because we're very undeveloped. A lot of people turn to Asia because of that.
Right.
Because it's more sophisticated. And but cultural anthropology is more social in that sense, and it's more you can observe things, and then of course, the idea is, I guess. I work with the BI because Prabhupada wanted it, working with the scientific program. And I finally surrendered, okay, what do I do? And I found out that I could work in certain areas and help the whole project go on. But the hard physicists and stuff like, Swarup Damodar and Sadapuda,
yes,
they're very, very focused in their area and stuff. It's a very technical area, really. So I was helping out with the broad promotion, indexing, and so many things, But all along, I wanted to get into my field, which was cultural anthropology. And so, then gradually developing, for example, Hamlet and Arjuna. And that's been extremely popular.
Tell us about that, Tell us about that, Hamlet and Arjuna.
Once upon a time, there was a prince, right? And he had to chastise, even fight with and kill his own family members, He did not want to face that problem, but in the end he realized that all of us have certain destiny in these things, and within that we have our free will, and he accepted it. You asked Indians who this is, they say Arjuna. You ask Western people who it is, they say Hamlet.
Right.
And the thing is, not only is it the stories are the same, very, very comparable, and the ontological considerations about who are we, what is space, what is time, what happens when you die, very, very contrastable. But the language in both cultures is like so profound, so poetic and stuff. Vyasadeva can say things in a very fantastic way, and so same way too Shakespeare and so on. So when you start doing cultural presentations, you get this tremendously deep moving. The Lion King is based upon Hamlet. There's no bones about it. They produced it for $50 million, and it's made $350 million so far.
Wow.
Hamlet comes from an older German story. Yeah. And where does that come from? Maybe from the Mahabharata. Yeah. So anyway, that's been, big programs was, the entire, in Peru we did it with the ambassador and the biggest radio stations and Nobel laureate, but national poet laureates coming and stuff, and they loved it.
So it's a theatrical production?
What we do is, Prabhupada said, first off, you have you should have a nice reception for people on this level.
Yeah.
And they come in, it's just a nice, pretty girls take their coats with their wives' things and hang them up, receive them nicely and friendly. Then they go in with the rest of the Nobel laureates and sit next to the fire and have nice drinks and talk about something. So nice reception, then nice prasad, and then you start talking, ideas and philosophy like that. Mm. And some very, very specific examples that Prabhupada shows through Damodar. So that kind of aspect, we organize it in Chile, for example, at it was the old Mint in Santiago, but they turned it into a beautiful international, several level auditorium space. And so people were invited from all the different resource areas and cultural managers for radio shows and the U.S. Embassy. And what's his name? Anyway, he was elected 2 times. He was elected poet laureate for the country. Very, very nice person, very intelligent, very nice. So they all were coming, So we started off with cultural presentation. I think we had one Russian devotee there was expert violinist, and he could have carried the entire show the whole time by himself. And people, wow, this is fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Marble hall walls and people sitting packed in. And then I did a PowerPoint show, which is my real nature, and contrasting the things and showing stories and that kind of stuff. Then after that maybe have a movie or something like that. But at one point, I know that actually this poet laureate guy, they were pushing him. He came up, a very old guy, and he had some notes. And he started reading, because we could not find a good translation of Hamlet. But he started reading his translation, which was recent. Every person in the audience was just fixed, because he was reading it with such feeling. And it was poetical presentation. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene, 2 families both alike in dignity, from ancient grudge break forth to new mutiny, and civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Translate that into Gujarati.
Well, I'm American. I was born here.
Okay.
So.
But he was getting the feeling across.
Sure.
And afterwards, we finished a little kirtan, and then they had like all kinds of, everybody dressed in devotional clothes, civil clothes, nice mixture. And everybody was feeling this is first class being. We had Light of the Bhagavad art up. Mm-hmm. And then they just bought books like crazy, everything, and wanted more programs and stuff.
What's the goal of such a event? What's the end goal?
Well, the end goal can always be taken as distributing the books and stuff.
Yeah.
But one time I was talking with Vaisheshika, we got an initiation, same letter, And he said, I've been working on this mass distribution, and you've been working on this area of putting them in specific hands of certain people and stuff. And Prabhupada said that, okay. Just everybody has their particular way of preaching.
Right.
But the nice conclusion is when they get Prabhupada in the form of a book.
Yeah. I'm interested in what you're doing in America as well.
Okay.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we say America.
America.
People South America say, we're also Americans.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And we say, we're North Americans. And Mexicans say, we're also North. It's so arrogant. In the academic area, it's been hard in North America, developing things. And so in South America, easier to contact people. Not just for me, everybody, Rasaraj with the Bhaktivedanta Institute, Srup Damodar. it's a tough place to break into it in some ways, because they're very. When E.T. Hall, he said, United States is predominated by Northern German consciousness. It's very meticulous, very analytical, and so introducing these ideas and stuff, it's difficult. Almost nobody has been successful much at the university level and so on, cultural level, But we've been traveling, preaching, doing programs here at universities, where it's possible, and with devotees, doing programs like that. But most of the work we were doing in Latin America, we got the most response and stuff, and also in India. So we've been pushing it, in North America.
Why do you think it's difficult to do these things in North America as far as with universities?
Well, Paschacha Deshatarine, the Prabhupada says, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi.
Right.
I mean, they're just sold out, to science, materialistic science and stuff and so on. So it's,
But in some ways, the BI and that kind of preaching was tailored to preaching to those type of people, right? And to connect them with Krishna consciousness.
I mean, for example, that's the whole thing. The Bhaktivedanta Institute and stuff is not aimed at college students. There are college programs that are aimed at college students, like in Gainesville and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And my nature, I don't like that so much. I mean, it's just, you can preach to anybody, but my nature is talking on this intellectual level with people and stuff.
Right.
Okay, and so with the Bhaktivedanta Institute, I joined in '84. I took sannyas from Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, and I started working with the BI. Then I found out how I could fit in, because again, cultural anthropology was my real nature. What I finally have developed after all this time is the final conclusion we're at is science, psyche, and spirituality. The encounter of Carl Gustav Jung with the Bhakti Siddhanta of traditional India.
Wow.
That's the theme that we work on. And it's kind of like, Bhakti Siddhanta, he was born 1864 or something? Carl Jung was born 1866 or something, just 2 years later. So the contrast between them is just incredible in comparison. One is an acharya in the West, one is an acharya in the East, and they're both talking about so many fundamental things. And Jungian society, very active group, and so it's always expanding.
Are there similarities or are there just contrasts?
Some of the words are similar. For example, Prabhupada says, thinking, feeling, and willing. So for us, feeling means emotion, but for Prabhupada it means acceptance and rejection. I feel how I feel about this. I accept it or reject it. So you got to explain that. Carl Jung used the same thing, and you have to explain it with him also. Carl Jung didn't like the word unconscious. He says, why call it unconscious? Because it can become conscious. Prabhupada the same thing. Dialectical spiritualism, Prabhupada goes to all these people. He's criticizing all of them. Then they say to Carl Jung, and Prabhupada's going, oh, yes, that is true. Yes, he has that correct. Oh, that is not correct. And they explain it a little bit more, and he says, well, from that perspective, he has a good idea. Wow. And they finish off and say, Prabhupada, he's the last one, and Prabhupada said, of all of them, he makes the most sense.
Wow.
And so on. So it is a totally open area for reaching a different kind of people and stuff.
Yeah. What struck me, what you just said, was about how you had to find something that you could fit into.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you a little bit about, sometimes devotees feel that they might not fit in because they're kind of like a square going into a circle sometimes. Yeah. What advice would you give to devotees to be comfortable with and okay with maybe doing what they want to do and not wanting to do something else?
That's a message I like. Okay. In the university, they give you vocational interest tests.
Yeah.
And basically all this stuff is coming back in terms of pioneering all this stuff. I 6 years ago, I realized all my ancestors were pioneers, different things like that. So that's what I like. A few people going out, discovering new stuff and coming back and telling the other people what's going on. And okay. And so then all this in terms of, research scientists, CPA partners, setting up accounting systems and going away, blah, blah, blah. Down at the bottom, out of 100 possible points, they had 10 points for banker. Okay. So when I moved in the temple, the first job I got was temple treasurer. And I would just sit there and just look at the money.
Just by coincidence?
But I got a sign by that, Temple President. I think maybe the guy figured out I was honest. Bhaktidas figured out I was honest, and this and that. I could count or something, you know. So I remember just sitting there with these bags of money we were getting from Sankirtan, just like looking at it, you know. Palmistry. You'll be a sannyasi your whole life. You have $10 in your pocket, you know. And I had to go through this whole level about what Temple President wants me to do, who's he connected to. And finally, it forced me off the Karma Yoga platform to the Jnana Yoga platform, where intellectually I understood I had to do this.
Right.
And it's happened several times in my career where I'm really convinced this is what Krishna needs from me, and it's not my nature, you know. And so then I would just, you know, be a square peg and fit into the round hole and try to fill the spaces in with something. And I do it, you know? Yeah. And so, a lot of times it's not karma yoga, you know? It's jnana yoga, where intellectually you understand what you're doing and you do it and you feel a satisfaction, you know? But it's not a satisfaction on like my body and my mind and my nature and this is what I like doing, you know, or even what I don't like doing, but I don't like doing it, you know, for Krishna.
So you say there's a degree of satisfaction where if it's just the karma yoga.
Intellectual, and so then you can control your mind and senses, and you can find something. My body wants to do this and that. Okay, I got to eat a little bit more. I got to read these books or something. Yeah, because I need to keep my senses under control. Nothing crazy, but yeah, it's just if I was in my nature, I wouldn't be doing. I would have to eat so much. They wouldn't have to sleep so much. Yeah, but it's just your senses are crazy. It's not your nature. But you can see, this is what. You know, the Bhakti treasurer thing. I did it, and there was nobody else to do it, and everything else, and so on. But it was just like, you know, I had to eat more sweet rice or something. My senses were just like, kind of going crazy and stuff. Yeah.
Would you say that sadhana? Do you have to have a certain nature to excel at it, or is it that one size fits all?
Well, again, there's Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti and sadhana, but Vaidhi Bhakti. There are certain people who cannot chant 16 rounds a day. I know one person who is, she would have been probably diagnosed as autistic, you know, but before it became popular or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So she has very, very hard time working in linear thought.
Right.
You know, and stuff. But she's very, very developed, very nature is iconographic thought. So she's the kind of person who you would put in charge as a set designer for some part of a drama, because it's the whole thing with the feeling and all this stuff working together and stuff. You know? Yeah. So it's just different people can approach it different ways, and some people chanting 16 rounds in a row, it is basically impossible for them. You know. Yeah, I know some people just, you know, but it's rare, you know. But usually, you can take it up and then you find ways to do it. You know, to use your mind involved in it and stuff.
Yeah, I was having a discussion with a friend about this very topic, about chanting, and they were saying they were feeling discouraged by seeing Prabhupada disciples had been chanting 60 rounds for X amount of years, but who hadn't changed their mood.
Yeah.
They still were kind of on the bodily platform, you can say. And he was thinking, as a younger devotee, shouldn't that go away after a while, like, or do people hold on to, or does it take lifetimes, or like, do you have any comments on that? Well,
the scriptures say you can go on chanting Hare Krishna for thousands of lifetimes if you the offenses and stuff. So sometimes that's what it is. They have offenses, and they're chanting because they want something out of it, materialistic or whatever.
Yeah.
Other thing is that as they go, you talk about our short-term memory is going. It's 76 years old. Yeah.
You're 76?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, wow.
I had more than 48.
Anyway, we're talking about the 16 rounds and people who, after they chant for so many years.
Haven't changed. Okay.
Yeah, haven't changed. Yeah.
I initiated one devotee in Peru. What's his name? Something Luis? Something, yeah. I mean, he became Lakshmanagaraja. But he was going through he started off in Peru. Of course, these Christian boys, Catholic guys were coming to schools and singing on guitars and songs. And he said at about, I think it was 8 years old, that's what he decided he wanted to be like. So many kids, Mormons and everything else, by 10 years old, 12 years old, they made a decision what they want to do in life so many times. So it becomes like a career thing. So he wanted to be a monk, he decided. It was seeing these guys singing and everything else and so forth and so on. So he went through the whole high school, he graduated, and he went into a monastery. And he has a whole experience in living in a Catholic monastery and everything else. And he said that they called their guy who was like directing them, their ashram leader, a spiritual master and stuff like that. And he said one of the guys, maybe out of 12 people in their class, was very, very agitated because of sex life and stuff, And so one time he asked their spiritual master, he said, does his sex desire ever go away? And the guy said to him, he says, yes, 10 minutes after you die. So it says that, right? The same thing we're saying is that Tagada Mulahantri, we're trying to change the heart. If we can get things in enough control where, okay, you can do it. You can do the job. You can chant your rounds, follow principles, and we're not going to try and have you giving up being an emotional woman or a passionate Kshatriya. No, we're just going to try and it's good enough. We're changing your heart. And then at the time of death, there'll be no roots. Roots for the material tree, and everything else will just get washed away. So a lot of this stuff people may externally, but you start dealing with them. It's the point. You start dealing with them, and you realize that, yeah, they're the same way they have been, but, a little bit adjusting, a little bit. I can tell you some interesting stories with Buddhimanta. It changed a little bit externally, adjusted it and stuff, But internally, as you become purified, you begin to see that they're doing it for Krishna. They're being a Kshatriya for Krishna. Prabhu, she's an emotional woman. What do you expect from a woman? He's a passionate Kshatriya. What do you expect from a Kshatriya? Yeah, you begin to realize that it's the same way they are, but now they're doing it, for Krishna.
So you're saying that the kind of like psychological makeup sticks with you because it's a part of you, not necessarily that following sadhana will make it go away or...
The Bhagavad Gita, most fundamental book, Krishna didn't ask Arjuna to become like Vyasadeva.
Right.
He had him ask him to go out there and blankety blank. Like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But now at heart he'd changed. His bhava, right? His consciousness had changed. In the beginning he was doing it for Draupadi. Yeah. And after that he was doing it for Krishna.
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
What is your realization after chanting for now, 50 years? Plus? Yeah. Have you felt that you're a different person from years ago?
I met somebody in Argentina, or in the Andes.
Yeah.
And I met this guy. He was a vice dean of architecture. We did programs for maybe 2 weeks with him, with the devotees. Very nice. Then I realized this is exactly what I would have become, with the same age and everything else, in Mendocino. Same age and everything else. And he was like... he was popular with his kids and the younger people like that. He belonged to some kind of like thoughtful, kind of meditative little bit Christian organization like that, and all kinds of cool things. And I realized this is what, if I hadn't come in contact with Prabhupada, this is what I would have been. Basically floating around maybe on the Brahman level,
right?
About there is reality and this kind of stuff, but, nothing in terms of, developing, the levels that you find in Prabhupada's books,
Yeah. From your travels of traveling to different places and meeting different people, what do you feel are the top 3 things that devotees struggle with in Krishna consciousness?
Oh my God, I was only 3.
The top 3.
Yeah. What's coming to my mind now is, because many times in Peru and stuff, you have these interviews. I mean, like the consultations, people be lined up, whatever,
Yeah.
And I was coming back. That most of the women wanted to talk about having nightmares. Okay. Most of the guys wanted to talk about having bad thoughts during the day. And everybody was either having problems with their family or problems with the devotees in the temple.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So social,
that's a social thing, yeah.
Yeah, we interviewed some nuns, cloistered nuns. I didn't do it, but go was one of our disciples, Kishore. She interviewed them. They're cloistered, had bars and stuff. And they were very, very enthusiastic. They're older, like 70, 76 and 78 or something. And they joined when they were young girls and stuff in Peru. And they're very interested in asking her about, being a female person in the Hare Krishna movement, Indian perspective, and very, they're nice,
Right.
And both of them, they really felt very happy about talking about it. And they said the most difficult thing about being a nun was being in a society with nothing but other women for 40, 50 years, 60 years together. Now learning how to live with that and stuff, that was the biggest austerity you had to deal with and stuff. Yeah. And it was very interesting. They said that some of the girls quit after 10 years, 20 years, whatever. He said so many times they would come back and comment that I feel I cheated myself by not going on, And then they were talking about one of their sisters, same thing. She died at 72 or something recently. When they're dying, they fold the arms like this, which means victory. I did it. And stuff. And they're very, very nice, nice people and depth and stuff to them. Yeah. But that was the thing, is that it's the social life is so many times, And after that, of course, the gross mechanical thing is if you're dealing with your body,
right?
But in most cases, it's not like a struggle. It's kind of people kind of accept whatever they're at, and even if they can't fall before principles, they accept what they're going to do. And I got to smoke a couple of cigarettes a week. And it's just kind of like, that's where I'm at, and I'll go on now with the process, and I'll make progress. And maybe after 10 years, I'll go up smoking. But so many times the social thing is Sangha Sanjayate Kama. It's the social relationship. Yeah.
What advice do you give them when they have social issues like that?
For me, the thing that helped the most was when Upadeshamrita came out. And it's describing Kanista Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari, and how to relate to them. And it was like, wow. I was like, okay, different people on different levels, And you begin to identify what kind of devotees they are. And Kanista Adhikari, you're respectful, in your mind and stuff, but you don't talk confidentially with them about things. And it's okay,
Right.
Madhyama Adhikari, you pay your obeisances, Hare Krishna Prabhu, and in your mind you should always have that attitude when you're talking with them. I can pay my obeisances to this person now.
Right.
The Uttama Adhikari, which is supposed to be Goswami, he's ready to do dandavats or something like that, and so on. Yeah. So, and then so many things. Prabhupada's books talking about how to relate to different kinds of people, and especially with devotees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Madhyama Adhikari means halfway. So, basically in ISKCON, to be in ISKCON, you have to be halfway sane. Prabhupada says outside people are 80 to 90% crazy. Okay, if you're in a society which is people are 50% crazy, okay. And then Madhyama Adhikari means you avoid the demons. So a demoniac aspect in other devotees still have their attachments, their blind spots. You become expert at avoiding that.
Right.
Jai Prabhu, let me tell you. And then you can live together quite well.
Yeah.
Different people have different, blind spots.
Yeah. Something I always ask to devotees who, older devotees like yourself, are that how did you survive the post Srila Prabhupada times of the 80s or the late 70s, when kind of the not so great parts of ISKCON were occurring as far as zonal acharyas and falling down and all those kind of things. How did you weather that storm yourself?
Basically the same way I weathered the different storms before that happened. When I joined, what was happening? So many things in the society happening this way and that way. For example, one of the things was the mothers' parties. You heard about that?
No.
At some point, they started developing these things where there'd be one guy in charge of 15 women.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jivananda Das, we issued the same letter, was in charge of the program in San Francisco, Berkeley when I was there, then Udamanu up in Seattle, and somebody down and they were going out and collecting all this money and doing so many things so great and this and that, and it was just a lot of strange pressure problems.
Right.
And so then it all came out that, there was so many, illicit things going on, whatever else, and so forth, so on and stuff. So that was, again, one of the eras. And the authority of temple presidents before was like, temple president is, you cannot approach Prabhupada except through your temple president.
Yes.
So the autocracy at that time by presidents was just, so intense. Then after Prabhupada left, then we had gurus, and the presidents started losing their influence.
Did it not discourage you in any way?
Yeah. All these things, but discouragement, utsahan nischa darya. You lose your enthusiasm because you lose your intelligence. Prabhupada defines it that way.
Yeah.
But I got Prabhupada's book and read it for 1 year before I came to the temple, and right away, as soon as I came there, things in the book were like orienting me. You know? And so always sort of kept looking for something, problems, going back, to Prabhupada's books, Krishna book. And
I love that.
Yeah.
Reorient yourself when
Yeah.
you feel like you're kind of going too far in different place. Come back to the philosophy to reorient yourself,
Yeah.
and when your intelligence can take over the emotion or whatever issues that you might be going. I love that. Thank you, Marsh. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also chanting Hare Krishna, which the books recommend.
Right.
I've been through so many difficult situations, not just in ISKCON, but with different things that's going on, chanting Hare Krishna. And again and again, it's worked. Yeah.
Tell us more about that, because I want to hear more.
Okay, I was in Manipur. We finished up program with Bhakti Swarup Damodar. Went to Manipur before it was ever open to the external public. We got there during Gaur Purnima.
Yeah.
And they collect money at Janmashtami and Gaur Purnima. They go to all their sponsors and they give big donations twice a year.
Yeah.
So we were going to maybe 25 different houses every day. We go in, do a big fired up kirtan, and then they would write a check out to our managers while we were doing the big fired up kirtan. Of course, I'm a Western guy and everything else. And a big thing of fruit stacked up, and very, very nice ceremonial.
Yeah.
Then we look at the list and we head off to the next place. And so every day we were doing 20, 25 fired up kirtans with fruit and stuff. Then we got back at the temple at night, and I was the only Westerner there, and so I was sleeping in the library. And I couldn't talk to so many people. There was the temple president's wife tried to make chapatis, and they came out of these square kind of strange things. And I was eating so much rice, my body was overheating, So anyway, a very difficult situation. And I was in the library, and all the books were locked up. The only book that was out was the 50 greatest travel accidents in the world. How many people dying because of trains and airplanes. So every night before I go to rest, I would just read about some. Okay. But simultaneously, it was incredible because everybody was making cloth and home looms and kirtans and Ras Leelas. It was unbelievable. It was just. So anyway, I had to leave all this and go back down to Calcutta and everything else. And I was carrying all these gifts and stuff and got dropped off. And being a miser, I refused to go to a hotel or anything else like that. So I went straight to the Howrah train station, a gigantic mess, and all these thieves are looking at you, dragging your stuff around. So I didn't know what was going on. So finally, I just went out. I could get a ticket for this train leaving for Mathura or something. Within 30 minutes. So I just bought it. I don't know what it was. It was a third-class ticket. And so then I went along the train. There was one car said third class. I got on. It was already packed to the gills.
Oh my goodness.
So I was able to climb over people and on top of them, they were looking at me and glaring. Yeah, but okay, you got the ticket. So I was standing there up. It was maybe like 1 hour and a half before I got the edge of a seat. Yeah, edge of a wooden seat. Yeah, okay. Then it kept on going on like that. And I just had this deal with my mind. If I just chant Hare Krishna, that's all I had to do. Nothing else, keep on. And I kept on going on. It was tough, because I had to sleep sitting up and so many people coming and going, finally with alone there. But yeah, I saw that for, 36 hours or whatever it took to get to Mathura. I kept chanting, and my mind could be under control. I could chant and stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Mantra took me through it.
Wow.
Yes. And I arrived in somewhere Christmas in Mathura.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with the holy name after so many years now of chanting it? Can you tell us something about what it is? What does it mean to you? Sorry for the kind of abstract question, but
It's a very broad question.
yeah, it's a very broad question.
What
Yeah.
is your relationship with God?
Yeah.
After all these years of praying, yeah.
That's a better way to put it.
Okay. Well, yeah. It really seems that, Doshrada, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, that, this door of Kali, it seems that those stages, they naturally go on, yeah. And, I see that it works pragmatically, getting up every morning early. Usually I try to go to bed by like 9:45 and get up by 1:15 or something. And those quiet hours in the morning,
Wow.
you can really, focus. And I can see that in the Maha Mantra, it's like you can have, such intense relationships with it in terms of aesthetic things, of music and this kind of stuff, and chanting, whatever.
Yeah.
And trying to chant from the heart, not just from the tongue or the mouth or the head, And then, so as you're chanting, sometimes it's just a mechanical thing, getting your rounds done, But that's it. It's okay. It's a deal. you do them mechanically, Krishna says, okay. But yeah, try and do better. But if you're just doing it mechanically, and that's because you got your body and you slipped into it, okay, that counts, no problem. But then, yeah, Krishna keeps reminding you, or your intelligence keeps reminding you. So then you develop more and more intelligence in terms of your relationship with the holy name and chanting and that kind of stuff. And also, the psychology after that, I was into improvisational theater, and that's what we're doing is Gandharva Veda. There's Ayurveda, Vastu Veda, Danda Veda, the king. But what we're doing is Gandharva Veda, singing, dancing, and drama. The entire Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is based upon drama theory. And so it's just, so you look at drama theory in the West and so many things, and so many techniques and so on that are there and stuff, that we're doing. And so, you start like developing chanting more in terms of you have ways to focus your mind on the mantra rather than just doing it mechanically. Then you have ways to start getting into the meaning and the significance and so on. And it does purify your body internally because the sound penetrates, and so you start to become, more flexible internally and so on. And so much, development.
Flexible internally meaning what?
Meaning that many people are just like, solid. You see them, their neck is stiff, their body's stiff. They're talking, they're smoking. They're dead, basically, Hansaduta saw one of our farm laborer guy's parents that came to visit. He said, my God, I just saw his parents. He looked like they're pickled in cigarette butt juice and alcohol. I mean, it looks like they couldn't, death didn't want to deal with them. It was just like, literally, they were just there, going on, alcohol and,
Yeah.
So as you're chanting, you start to feel internal movement in your body, which at different levels, prana, you mistake it as spiritual in kung fu and stuff, but no, it's not. It's just the prana in the body starts to flow and stuff.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of interaction with Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. And what was your relationship with him? Were you friends, or was he more like a senior, or like what was that like?
It's complicated. No, yeah. So many different aspects, he was my sannyas guru.
Right. Oh, that's right.
First, Hansaduta was giving Hansaduta was a real pioneering guy too, and all this kind of stuff, and for Prabhupada and all these things, So he came to Berkeley after Prabhupada left, and it was a whole incredible thing. He was bigger than life, so many ways. But anyway, then he was going through different things like that, and he started like getting everybody married and people taking sannyas, and I told him I just want to stay as a brahmachari, too many formalities, and he was pushing me, okay, so zonal acharya. But then he had problems afterwards, and the GBC decision was anybody who had first and second initiation from Prabhupada amongst the sannyas disciples of Hansaduta can continue if they take shelter of an existing ISKCON sannyas guru. Can. So I can get back. But everybody told me, no, you took the vows, stick with it. Rameshwar, Trivikram Swami, so okay, So then I took a sannyas initiation from him, and it turned out to be exactly the same day, 10 years before, when I had taken first initiation.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting. Hyderabad.
Oh, you took initiation in Hyderabad?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so, it was this, I had a relationship with, and it was very nice because he's a very culturally very sophisticated person. So I had advantage of a very, very cultured, sannyas guru and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Other than that, we were both on the really in this intellectual atmosphere and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Considerations and stuff. And so, we could work on that level. And a lot of the kind of preaching was natural for me. Prabhupada had trained him. So we were learning how to do that. And I picked up so much from him like that and so on.
I was there in Vrindavan in 2006 when he passed, and his body came, and
I was there too.
I know, I saw you. I think that's
okay.
one of probably the first times I've ever seen you.
Okay.
I was a kid. I was like 20 or something.
Okay.
But I remember you there, and in Radhakund, there was the festival putting his body. That was that impacted me so deeply. Just see, he looked like his eyes were just closed, and he was just.
I was later. I was thinking I should have gone over in the crowd if I could have done it and taken his pulse. Because again, if you go into very, very low heartbeat,
Yeah.
maybe even once every 2 minutes and so on, But I was thinking, because the same thing too, his body was still pliable and
It
stuff.
was so pliable. He
I
literally,
know.
when they were putting him down into the pit,
Yeah, yeah.
it just looked like his eyes were like he was still there, but his eyes were closed.
Yeah, I know.
It was really surreal,
So
actually.
maybe he did go into samadhi. Maybe he's still there. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, we could say it was very intense program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was quite an emotional day for a lot of devotees.
Myself, when it happened, my response to all these emotions was, why is everybody, he's not gone. And my intellectual emotion was, he's still here. If you take up his mission now,
Yeah.
the very first I heard it was right before the Samadhi article for Prabhupada. Somebody just told me, I was going around. And my first response was, oh my God, how nice. Yeah. Because he would have struggling with the scientists, struggling with the disciples, struggling with the terrorism in Manipur, I knew so many things, My first reaction was, oh God, now finally he gets the chance to, which even he said sometimes, I just want to go to Radhakund and sit down and write songs, Yeah.
Wow.
So that was my first response.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was just respond, okay, why are you so upset? He's here. I was feeling, now we take up his mission.
Yeah.
But then I think that right after the Samadhi ceremony in Radhakund,
Yeah.
then we went back and there was supposed to be a program that evening.
Mm-hmm.
And then it hit me. All of the personal things we'd done, like emotional, sentimental things. And we slept on the same beds together with the Manipuri program. We did so many things together. Then my intelligence hit it that, those are over. There's going to be no more of that stuff. And then it was so overwhelming. The king, Marge, you want to say something? I just couldn't say anything.
I remember that.
And just like, if they thought I didn't want to, I couldn't talk.
I think you played some instrument at that time. Were you playing some instrument? No. Anyway, something reminded me of that. But yeah, I mean, that's so interesting that you're saying about all the times you spent together.
Yeah.
How important is it for devotees to have like friendships in Krishna consciousness? Do you have friends?
I do. Yeah.
Of course, I'm just being facetious.
The
but
gopis exist at 3 levels. And the gopis are attracted by the fluid of Krishna. The gopis are good citizens of Nanda Maharaj's village. They haggle over the price of yogurt with people. They, do everything externally and paying their taxes and stuff, So we should all be good citizens of ISKCON, and follow the rules. And if we see problems, we should speak up. We should deal like it was like an institution, and okay.
Yeah.
And an institution in Kali Yuga is it's guaranteed. If an institution is 80% perfect, don't try to improve it. And that's I think I'd say the maximum you can hope for an institution in Kali Yuga is 84 out of 5 times it does the right thing.
wow.
If it's doing 50% of the time, you're probably lucky. If it's not trying to eat you rather than being something. Okay, so that's ISKCON. It works. We got GBC. We got positions. Okay, and yeah, it's an institution. And it's being okay. Yeah. The second level is that the gopis, when they heard Krishna's flute coming from off in the distance, some meadow or someplace, then they would start to look around and see their friends. Maybe opposite sex or whatever. Sudama, Sridama, and they would start talking about Krishna, right? Is phone ringing?
Yeah, someone's phone ringing.
Yeah. It's not my phone. Okay, well, just let it go on. It's the sound of Krishna's flute. Yeah. So they would start talking to their friends confidentially, a little bit quietly about things and what's going on and stuff in the institution. So maybe, some big guy, he always has big responsible posts in the government. He's very qualified. But his closest friend is his driver. And they've been together for so many years. So after some tough day, he comes out and sits in the car and says, Rajiv, let's take a little bit through the park on the way back, And so the guy's talking to him. It's like Hanuman. Hanuman's in Dasya Ras and Sakya Ras. He's listening to the guy, and he's talking about confidential stuff. He knows the friend whose chauffeur can keep it quiet. And the chauffeur is respectful. He says, sir, you're always putting up with the guy. Sir, you've got to do something. So the friendship is a different level. And that's what Prabhupada talks about many times. The Krishna consciousness means developing these friendships. Yeah. Okay, and as you're doing that, dadati pratigrinati, and in some ways it's not a very big thing. It's just a practical thing where you can deal with people and you're your friend,
Yeah.
The third level is that then the gopis then begin to think that, Krishna composed that song for me last night when we were alone together. Radharani pushed us to be alone together, and I was terrified when Krishna was talking with me and joking with me. He composed that song, and now Krishna's playing that song on his flute. Yeah. Yeah. So then all of us need to have a personal, individual, direct relationship with Prabhupada. Maybe through so many media, but yeah, we know Prabhupada knows who we are, we know who he is, and yeah, okay, this, and then that's why I'm carrying on. I remember when I got that, I was climbing up over a hill in Berkeley, going to work, and I was so many things in the temple, and I just decided, no matter what happened, I was going to stay following A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. I knew enough what he wanted me to do that I could do that. At that point, it was just, yeah. So we should be good citizens, we should make friendships, and we should have a personal relationship with Prabhupada.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I feel that takes a certain type of simplicity of Krishna consciousness to do that, because some people overthink things, right? They it's like it's not enough for them. Like just what you're saying is not enough. It needs to be a little bit more, or it needs to be something different.
The overthinking is basically the institutional level, but everybody has their nature, and so some people, they function on the institutional. But Prabhupada says that Arjuna, what was it go? He forgot who Krishna was, but he never stopped loving him. So at heart, he fundamentally was he kind of knew what's going on. He surrendered, but in Krishna externally used him to give the message and talking externally, but from the very beginning, at heart, he knew what was going on, what had to be done. So some people, Kshatriyas, their nature is to be in the external world, doing things, but at heart, they know is all a game. Otherwise, you can't really do it, unless you have some deeper. Kshatriyas have an intuitive realization and not the body. Brahmanas have very clear scientific realization.
I liked what you said about the institution.
Oh my God.
That that if it's 80%, then don't try to change it. Some people would not agree with that. Some people would say no, that's like a bypassing, or it's a cop out or something. But in some ways, it's Kali Yuga. Things are going to be ridden with fault.
Yes, chapter 17. Report was a Spanish recompensa, reward and punishment of Kali. You see, it's a whole discussion of how he's dealing with Kali, and basically it's the age of compromise.
Right.
And yet he allows the four regulative principles to be broken in his kingdom. Right? Yeah. So if ISKCON rules the world, we will allow people to engage in illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating in certain places. Kali Yuga. It's a compromise, right?
Yeah.
That place is called Las Vegas.
Right. Or Fort Knox.
Everything there, everything we're mentioning is legal.
Right.
Prostitution is certified. Everything is, it's like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Also, it said where gold is kept.
That's the fifth one. In Chile, they have many, many mining places, and I have some disciples who are mining engineers, and they say nobody wants to take a job where there was a gold mine.
Really?
They say all around that, prostitution, everything else, violence, murder develops, silver, copper. But he said gold mines, it's just people go crazy.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears, Maharaj, and talk a little bit about Nashville. Yeah.
Okay.
And the project that you're doing there, I'd love to hear about it.
I was on a puppet tour with my friend Lokanath Das and his wife Maharani and somebody else in the Purniam Puppet Theater, and we travel around with these puppet shows. Really good.
Where?
All over the U.S.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we ended up in Nashville one time, and we didn't do a show because Ravi Shankar was there the same night we were there. And
oh, wow.
They told us, hey, we talked to people, and nobody's going to come,
Yeah.
So we stayed overnight. But I met Nitai Gaur Sundar Das there, disciple of Satsvara Maharaj. He met Prabhupada, but then took initiation for Satsvara Maharaj, and very strong relationship with him.
Yeah.
And he's a psychiatrist, and so we stayed in touch and developed a very broad relationship with him and his family, and staying with him in India, and so many things, real entrance into cultural heritage and stuff.
Sure.
And at some point, I was trying to work with these different organizations in San Francisco, so many places, and get an institution going that I could work with. So finally, on the Brajmanda Parikrama, lying on my back with 600 people in the tent at night, suddenly I could see all the elements in iconographic form, and I could just shuffle them around and put them in the right iconographic form. Then I could go back into a linear thinking, and okay, we have to start our own nonprofit corporation. The person to do it is Nitai Gaur Sundar Das, and this person, it was like,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Yeah. And so that's when we started, our North American Institute for Oriental and Classical Studies, which if you write out NEOS, then it's an acronym, then you can write checks out to NEOS and stuff. So a lot of it was for that purpose of just handling the money, because now we have a nonprofit corporation. And I did a lot of work on in my background. I think I've incorporated three or four different corporations, and so we did all the work and set it up, and it's been running effectively. And all the stuff we do in terms of different places in South America, India, national museums, national libraries, all this kind of stuff we, run through NEOS. We published 3 academic volumes like that, and one we did Light of the Bhagavat, full color, bilingual, and so on. Yeah.
But it's like a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
You're planning on some brick and mortar.
So then basically we had like a base there, and the corporation papers in the Tagore Sundar's closet. And we did all the stuff necessary in the accounting and submitted it to the IRS,
Right.
which Sesha Das said we were way ahead of almost all the ISKCON centers he knew of in terms of because I understood it very simply. We did everything properly, and it's all accounted for and stuff.
Yeah.
International programs and so on, always Shakespeare. Okay, and so running around this way and that way, we made 4 movies to try and consolidate all the preaching, one in Peru, one in the United States, one in Spain, and one in India, and Hanuman looking for Sita. And we had professional director who was really into it because he wanted to learn about Krishna consciousness, very professional director of photography. And so they're there. We have them up now. And we have somebody, Jagat Guru, who does all of our media work and who puts cookies on people's computers when they go through. So we really have a very solid academic and cultural team. Okay, so came back to Nashville, and my body is falling apart. I'm supposed to leave my body on December 8th this year, by the way. Planning on it. Yeah.
Wait, are you being serious about that?
Oh yeah. Last year I was 40% deaf. This year I'm 60% deaf. Last
Really?
year I could driving. This year the doctor basically says, your cataracts are advanced enough, so you really shouldn't drive. And I agree. Yeah.
Well, can we talk about that for a second? Like, what? So, you astrologically, it's
Astrologically, yeah, it's also confirmed, and also physiologically, yeah. No, my teeth are falling out. Everything else,
doesn't that kind of make your disciples and followers like nervous to hear something like that?
Different people react different ways. Some people say, "Can you go a little earlier?"
Oh, Krishna.
Difficult, yeah. But yeah, it is. It's a very, because I have my relationship as a guru with different people. Sometimes Shiksha guru, sometimes whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's just part of this whole thing of dealing with everything else and my particular character and stuff. Some people saying, well, there's no problems with glaucoma. You just get artificial retinas, but Prabhupada refused to have any tubes in his body and stuff. Okay,
right.
Somebody else is different the way they're doing it.
Right.
But my nature is just more Socratic. Okay, it's first chance, let's get out.
Wow. Sorry to get you on that.
Yeah,
diversion,
but no, it's connected because that's what everybody's pushing us to consolidate science and the Vedas, interfaith dialogue, world classical literature, all this stuff we've been doing. So pushing me. So you gotta. So that's why we finally ended up doing these 4 movies,
right?
Which was to consolidate the preaching and everything else, and using the theme of Hanuman looking for Sita, Hanumat Presaka. Okay, and it worked out. It was a very good series like that. Very nice.
Yeah.
Finished off, and we found Sita in the end. Yeah, last movie. Okay, so then I'm kind of finishing off, went back to Nashville, and we're going to stay there at all, or just go ahead now and go to Radhakund, leave the body, whatever. But then, it came around that, then one last movie, which is Hanuman Reports to Ram. That's kind of the end of the Hanuman Presaka Leela. So it's really, these things organize your thoughts and stuff. They're very nice thinking about them, When I'm talking on the camera in that last movie, the 5th movie, then I'm thinking, I'm talking to Ram now. This is like, how would Hanuman talk to Ram and stuff. He's not hasn't got to convince anybody. Ram's already convinced. He just wants to know what's going on, where the things are, and get the proof, and he's ready to go.
Sure.
So then we started doing the last movie. We brought Pablo from, he's like 65 years old, from South America. And we paid $20,000 to had set up. He gave us advice. Fantastic. We have a fantastic recording studio. Everything else. If we're going out and all the equipment, everything else, first class, And our disciple Subhadra Mai Devi Dasi, she's learned how to use it to some degree, but that's, it's there. And so the movie really shows that this is all the stuff that practical stuff is there. Neos is there in a certain practical sense. And finally, so many people, big preachers and stuff, do not try and develop a physical center until later, until the congregation reaches a certain level. Rick Warren is one of those. And so to me, it's reached a point now where, in terms of my perspective, which is different than Gopal Krishnamurti's perspective, some people use the building to build the community. But my perspective is that build a community, and then the building follows.
Sure.
So to my perspective now, ISKCON is ready. ISKCON needs at this point, it's essential, a teacher training college. We've got to train people in all these, and I mean the whole, not just superficially, but in every professional aspect. Train them how to be Kshatriyas, train them how to be software engineers, for Krishna. And so, that's what this fifth movie then is our report to educational administrators in ISKCON and related organizations about Nashville as an example or a suggestion how it could work. And there are many reasons why, geographically, it's like, 70% of the U.S. population is within like 1 hour or something by airplane. So it's like a whole geographic area where you can do weekend programs there, no problem. Whereas you try and go to Florida or something from California or New York or Chicago, it takes you a whole day to get there.
Right.
With us, we did the Southwest Airlines, Chicago, JFK, Miami, and Houston. Basically, you can get on the airplane Friday morning, have an orientation session with your classmates in the evening, your teacher, classes in the morning, Saturday, workshops, and then Sunday back home.
How close are you to actually starting those courses? And
how close is Arnold Schwarzenegger to being a Hare Krishna devotee? When he becomes a devotee, they'll have a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger with tilak on with the Sika saying, "I won't be back."
That's a meme, Maharaj.
I won't be back.
Do you know what memes are?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a meme.
I know. I won't be back.
I love it. I can do that for you. I'll send it to you.
Hare Krishna. I won't be back.
I won't be back. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But that happened. Maybe that's exactly where we're at. In the movie, we ended up with, we've been working very seriously. Sumanta Rudra is working with, he's a director of the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. He's a big international businessman, and he's handling that all for Gauranga. And so then back and forth, and then Gauranga, a little contact with him. Okay, these guys are doing pretty good stuff,
Yeah.
And then with Sumanta Rudra, he's talking to him saying, I've worked with them so long now, and these people they're solid. They're working in these areas and stuff. And so
he was in the video too, Gauranga.
Yeah, so Gauranga's there and stuff.
Yeah, he was in the video.
This is why, because he's checked it out.
Yeah.
Okay? And also because of Subhadra and other people, we got in time with Lila Purushottam. With the IIT Nandi or Mindy or something. And then locally we have the devotees there locally who are very successful and stuff. And I was aiming towards more like an intellectual thing, producing it. But Pablo, his work was selling, like businesses who were trying to promote their ideas to big corporations. So he was pushing it more into like this level of advertising program. I would have put more intellectual stuff in it, but he was pushing, no, you need, at this point, I can understand where you're at. This is the kind of thing you have to do. So there's a lot of testimonial stuff in there, but it's intelligent testimonial. Like our idea was urban preaching centers. Then we go down to the rural communities, and suburban campuses or temples or universities. We want to be 30 minutes from the Nashville airport and 15 minutes from our campus we're going to work with, which is a moderate level campus, and so we can work with them.
Is there some land already?
We're looking for it. We identified areas where it's possible.
Yeah.
And Murfreesboro is the fastest growing city in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Weird, yeah. But that's the wave, okay? Don't run away from the wave.
Yeah.
Make the investment. And at this point, I'm not afraid. Mars, you got into all this stuff. I've done a lot of this stuff, risked it many times. This time, I'm telling all these big people that I'm really convinced that put the money here. It's going to cost you more because it's developing like that. But yeah, then you're going to catch the wave.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really exciting.
Yeah. So we'll see who. Yeah, and we can see that NEOS is kind of hanging together as an organization. Our Nitagora Sundar's son Abhishek is now our president.
Mm-hmm.
But he says he has so many things he's doing. His wife is finishing off her doctor's thing. He has a little baby girl to take care of.
Oh, wow.
His whole family comes from his brother is a high court advocate, his
Wow.
uncle.
Uh-huh.
So he has a proper family, but he says I only have so much time. So my idea is maybe Garanga talks to Leela and they blah, 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 blah. I have somebody I have a round peg this is the kind of thing he would love. Yeah, because they have a farm there, it's hanging on. They have a rural tradition with a lot of people willing to support it. They have yoga centers. And so, yeah, now that's the whole point of a campus, and then it could pull together. Is somebody looking at it going like, yeah, that's exactly what I know how to do with it. Yeah, it's not, and also it's not too developed yet. So, yeah.
Right.
And
that's under the umbrella of ISKCON, right?
Okay, this is a very interesting thing because because this is very interesting because is the BBT under the umbrella of ISKCON?
I would say so.
Yeah, but it's not legally.
Not legally, yeah.
Yeah, so that's exactly the point.
Okay, yeah.
If you get down to the push comes to shove,
Yes.
like out of our 7 directors, I think how are we going to go this year? I think everybody but Sumanta Rudra is an initiated devotee following the process.
Right.
Yeah, it's like. But the U.S. government it's okay with them.
Yeah.
I asked one lady, it was a Chinese lady working at Vanderbilt, we want to do a program there, university, it's right there.
Sure, Vanderbilt, yeah.
So anyway, she's talking about, this is Hare Krishna and stuff, and just spontaneously Krishna gave me intelligence. I said, hey, Vanderbilt is a white male Protestant university, isn't it? And she smiled and said, yeah. Yeah, it is. Isn't that correct? But she's an Oriental girl and everything else there working there. And so she, so she related immediately. Okay, this is ISKCON, but, it's the same way as Vanderbilt. You know how to keep your social stuff off the table.
Yeah.
And also, it's the point. We're not, you're not afraid of showing it. So everybody knows who you are, where you're coming from. Okay, but do they know when we're on the table here, we do work and stuff.
That's very exciting, Marge. Thanks for sharing that. What advice would you give to devotees?
Oh my gosh.
In ISKCON of how we can advance as a society?
Oh wow.
I'm trying to extract.
Yes.
I'm trying to extract really the most I can from you, because I know you have so much to share.
Yeah.
I put you on the spot. I'm sorry, but
I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm wondering how much to go here because it's the thing. It's because some of these things, there's some things that we talk about institutionally.
Yeah.
There's some things we talk about in terms of our friends, and there's some things we only talk about with Prabhupada.
Right.
Yeah, and us, right? It's just some things that you did. Oh, nobody knows but Prabhupada.
Right.
And later on, Prabhupada will. Send an indication to you. Even though I had this happen, in my life, I was stealing Mahaprasadam or something, something like that, going on like this. Okay, God, I'm so embarrassed, whatever. Okay, and then Bhakti Charu Swami finally, feeling in the heart, it wasn't so bad. Okay, whatever, I'm going to confess. I just confessed. That and Bhakti Charu Swami won Vyasa Puja, maybe like about Samadhi, what's it called? Tirubhava Festival.
Yeah.
Was talking about how he'd been a new devotee in Mayapur, and he came into Prabhupada's room crying, and Prabhupada said, but Bhakti Charu, what's wrong? He said, oh, Prabhupada, I'm a big demon. What did you do? He said, every time you send me to Calcutta, I buy Rasagulas, Prabhupada. He said, the money. He said, Prabhupada started laughing and said, it'll go away, So yeah, there was the same problem I was having and stuff, intellectual, mental platform, sugar.
Yeah.
So
I would say on a broad scale. Yeah. So to qualify it.
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, it'll be next GBC meeting. You're getting a letter. Yeah. Prabhu.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I was in a general sense, because that's what's happening too, is these movies are for consolidating everything. And by making the movies and interviewing everybody else, I saw so many things. I think Vera Bahu told me every GBC secretary should see your second movie in North America, because he really brought out a lot of what happening with the plateau we're on, where we've come to and stuff.
Right.
You know,
Right.
the first one is everybody on board looking for Sita. The second one is in Ravana's kingdom, in the United States, pure material opulence without God. The third one is Ravana's palace. You know, now we're getting into in Europe they get so deep. The last one is looking for Ashokvan.
Right.
And we did find Sita in the end. Okay. So I recommend everybody start with the fourth movie, because we got better as a team.
Yeah.
But when I showed the fourth movie release, that people were just staying afterwards for half an hour, and new people talking to the devotees. This is the kind of stuff you do? Yeah. It took time. Yeah. So, I mean, many different things, you know, how we can improve ISKCON. Oh God, it's probably speak unlimited question. You know. But one thing to me is that we've become advanced in the mode of passion, you know, and stuff, you know. If you see the letter, Prabhupada's letter on management, right? A very famous letter, you know. And he talks about establishing the GBC and stuff like that. And if you notice, it's all grihastas. It's all grihastas, yeah. And then the next thing it comes down, he says, and I have also given sannyas ashram to my disciples. So he's making the distinction that these two things are there. And he said they also have their duties. And so this distinction of the sannyas ashram from the management ashram, the two ashrams, travel to different temples for preaching to enliven the devotees and reporting to the GBC with different areas for possibly opening centers. So that movie is reporting to the GBC for opening intellectual centers, areas with Carl Jung. That's what I'm doing. Here it is. Now I'm finished.
Yeah.
Now it's your job. You know, I don't go. Hanumat Presaka doesn't go into battle. Waves goodbye and sits down under a tree and chants Hare Krishna or starts over again. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So every GBC meeting at the same time, you know, there was sannyas meetings and stuff. You know?
Yeah. Yes.
So I think that we really, Hansaduta used to talk about sannyasis being God-intoxicated men. You know. So there's a real danger of institutionalizing your sannyas ashram. You know.
Right.
To me, one danger is that you can get into the administrative aspect, you know. Yeah. To me, again, everybody should have 50, one purport. At 50 years old, the energy in the body is finished. You can maybe push it to 55, one purport, intellectual energy.
Yeah.
So to me, GBC people should retire at 50 years old, maybe push it to 55. And so many people even come to me, what'll I do? What'll I do? And talking it over with temple presidents and everything else, they discover there's more to do. But your influence is no longer political. I gave up being on the Latin American regional GBC thing. I gave up being on the board of directors.
Oh, you were on it?
No, I was a Latin American regional GBC member.
Oh, cool.
And I was also on the Ministry of Education and Executive Committee.
Mm-hmm.
But I gave them both up because it's just time to get out of that kind of work.
Right.
And I was feeling like you're giving up so much power, influence, security, and stuff. But then I was realizing, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
You've got to learn how to deal with approaching death and everything else. You know. Sannyas is 4 stages. Kudichak, Bahudak, or Madhukari, Parirajak, and Paramahamsa. And I think the danger is, you can ask GBC secretaries in this position, that you take sannyas, but you never get beyond Kudichak. You have your temple and your place to stay and your support and everything else and so forth, so on. And because of that, you've got to be politically correct in certain things. When I took sannyas, temple presidents were telling me, hey, don't come here unless you're going to back me up as a sannyasi. You've got to preach about my political agendas and so on.
Right.
And I could have done it, then I would have had a comfortable life in some ways. But I was thinking, no. And so, literally, I was sleeping under bushes at nights and stuff so I wouldn't come to that influence and stuff, and just facing death.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, as a brahmachari, I was traveling around. I was traveling Sankirtan leader. Yeah, but if there's any problem, you just call back to the temple, and they help you.
Yeah.
If you really go to this Parirajak Acharya at that point, and I saw, I mean, Krishna reciprocated. Mystical things happened where
Yeah.
I had to understand that Krishna was there, you know. And so then you can talk freely. And I know sannyas godbrothers who just say that. They don't talk freely because if you talk freely in public, the second you're off the stage, the guy's there with a chopper. I mean, this is a direct quote. I've seen your guy like that and stuff. And then because it's very comfortable.
Like speaking their mind, or
Yeah.
maybe something that,
Publicly, they start talking about things which are controversial, this and
Sure,
that. And they say,
sure.
externally it's cool, but the second you're off, all the pressure's there. Prabhu, you want to visit our temple anymore in India? You want to do this in the Northwest? Or you say something, Prabhu? You know?
right.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
you know, but I mean, I myself too, I always get influenced by this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a danger that we have, that the sannyas ashram, we really got to, you know, develop it. And so people are not afraid of taking sannyasis. I know many brahmacharyas, they've gone through this stuff for maybe 20 years and it's, what do I do now? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the sannyas ashram has to be developed. And also, of course, we're kicking in Vanapras now too. And actually, I think it's a formal thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And many churches have very developed retired people in their churches, and many groups
Yeah.
doing fantastic work.
They can cultivate the younger people. They have so much experience that they can share with the younger devotees, the Vanaprasthas.
If they've been a CPA or something, they can sit there a few hours a week, practical schedule.
Yeah.
Show
Office
you,
hours.
Yeah, show you how. I mean, even less than that, come in a couple and then show you how to do it
Yeah.
and stuff. You know.
That's fantastic, Maharaj. I mean, I love hearing about that, your realizations on the sannyas ashram. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think more people should be taking
You
sannyas?
better take sannyas.
I have 3 young children, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Younger
But see,
husband.
it's a whole different thing if they're looking at their daddy, and their daddy is and they're, if everybody in the family knows it. You know, for example, one of our disciples, prominent guy, one person was a sannyas candidate, but in the end he got somehow or other.
Oh, really?
Kind of went away. You know, just too much. You know.
Yeah.
So I'm not. If anybody wants to take sannyas of my disciples, I'm recommending Yadunandan Swami. He's like a cool guy. No, he's not the only person, but
Yeah.
I've stopped giving first initiations. Just, I can't.
Oh,
handle
really?
it. It's
Okay.
Too much pressure,
Uh-huh.
but physically.
Right.
So then I'm recommending what's his name in Houston? Forgot his name. Radha Govinda. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, these people I recommend. They're many nice people, nice gurus. You know, first initiation,
Sure, sure.
sannyas. You know, and we agree enough, basic principles. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so sannyas initiation. Yeah.
So we're
I
taking
was
sannyas.
asking my disciples, anybody wanted to take the promise, and one of them went ahead and talked with his wife, and they all agreed and everything else. And so now he's made a promise that when he reaches that age, he's going to take sannyas.
Wow.
And so maybe even he's told his kids, you know. And so it's a big difference when your kids know, looking at the father and everything else, and it's, you know, it's the perspective is there.
Interesting.
Makes you think about stuff.
Yeah. The way I think about it is that it's not, there's no barrier for performing bhakti.
No.
That doesn't mean that someone has to take sannyas to reach a certain level, but you see in all over Srila Prabhupada's books, when you reach a certain age, he says, family life, sex life, making money, that has to end.
You're married, right?
I'm married, yeah.
Okay, so you can see the same thing. Boy and girl are extremely chaste with each other. That's it. They're not going to associate with anybody else.
Yeah.
But you know, to think that your wife's mother is going to be happy if you're living together and having kids and you're not married? No. Yeah. Prabhupada said these are formalities, but not meaningless formalities.
Right.
And different people are different. I agree completely. You know?
Yeah.
But then for most people, again, reading Prabhupada's books again and again, it seems like he's saying, yeah, Vanaprastha is enough. You know, you may take birth again, but you're going to take birth. I have tremendous sannyas karma, maybe exactly what happened to me. I just had to take one more birth, and, you know, okay, so, but I'm saying again and again, it's guaranteed. If you follow it properly, it's pretty much, it forces you to,
Sure.
you know, to get free from this. Grihastha and Vanaprastha is like nyasa, renunciation. No more gross contact between husband and wife. But there's joking and all this kind of stuff.
Subtle.
Then sannyas is complete nyas.
Ah.
And then you're going to, even the joking is gone with a partner and stuff. And you
Right.
begin to realize it.
I think there's an important role that sannyasis play in the society as far as like inspiring devotees when traveling all over. Like, this is someone who is societally dead
Yeah.
and who has given body, mind, and words to Krishna. Not that grahasthas can't do that or vanaprasthas can't do that, but there's something about the visual of a sannyasi, and some people write that off, that, oh, you don't need to, and you know, you can be a devotee in any ashram, and that's true, but the sannyasis do play a role.
And again,
I think
you can associate with a girl and have kids by her and everything else and not be married.
Yeah.
But then everybody's going to be asking you, well, why not?
Right.
You know, if you have all this renunciation and everything else, and so, well, then why don't you just take it formally? And then maybe some people know, and they don't do it for certain reasons. Okay.
Yeah.
But for other people in general, it's actually one of the big arguments I got about being pushed into the sannyas ashram was that, yeah, you're very purified in this and that. You want to avoid these things, but you know, if you come as a sannyasi, then right away people will be able to orient themselves towards you in a more effective way. In some ways, it's a problem. I know so many people who didn't want to take sannyas. I'm giving their names now. Was it anyway? Different people, exactly the same reason I did, because there's so many formalities. I mean, you're supposed to be free from formalities. You end up in ashram, you have so many formalities and stuff.
What, like in regards to the institution?
Everybody's throwing flowers on your Crocs, you know. Everybody's worshiping your Crocs, you know. Right? Yeah. And everybody wants to cook for you.
Right.
Of course, they cook for you things that they don't eat normally, right? But they think this is opulent. And so you have, okay, what time is lunch? Well, lunch will be 12 o'clock, Maharaj. And so at 12 o'clock, there's nothing, and you kind of fasted until 12:15, there's nothing. 12:30, there's nothing. They knock on the door, and then 8 women come in with somebody, and they're putting all these preparations in front of you, everything else there, and there's all these little dishes, and you're looking at all of them, and they're all looking at you and smiling, you know. And you ask, is there any dal? And they go, oh, yeah, sure, Maharaj. Okay. And then, of course, it's late because one person was late, so everything is cold. It's very common, yes, sannyasis. Everything is cold, and there's always variety. One Vyasa Puja, I celebrated in a certain perspective. Suddenly I realized out of like 65 offerings, there wasn't a single thing that I wanted to eat.
Oh my God.
They were nice, but nobody had asked me, Mars, what do you want to eat? So, you become this like institutional formality.
Like you don't have a personality or likes or dislikes.
No. Yeah.
That's
but that's,
so
that's
funny.
the external aspect of
Yeah,
it. But, it creates this position where you begin to realize that pretty quickly. Like in the Vyasa Puja, sitting there, and you realize, you tell people that, and they all go, "Wow, you're right." So it's the institution, really helps you to become a devotee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to take sannyas because of the baggage that sannyas has in ISKCON specifically.
Yeah, but other institutions also, not just ISKCON.
Yeah.
Swami Narayan. Yeah. So you just. I just wanted to stay a brahmachari and go chant Hare Krishna. Krishna Kshetra, same thing. Many people.
That's right. Yeah. Krishna
Many
Kshetra,
people.
Krishna Kshetra
But then
Swami.
you begin to realize for certain reasons or whatever, in many cases, yeah.
You
And
feel
so-
like it's helped you to accomplish the things that you wanted to do?
Yeah.
That's good.
It also hinders it too,
Hinders it
in some ways, yeah.
in some ways.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you can't cook for yourself. Right now, Nanda Swami's coming. We're in the big room up there, the sannyasi room.
Yeah, right.
And I love sleeping on couches. He does too. They won't let us. I mean, I pushed it. They won't let us. They forced to bring in a second mattress and stuff because this is what I don't like mattresses. I like sleeping on the floor. No, you must sleep on the mattress.
Oh my God.
It's karma yoga, right? Just that you must do things the way I think a sannyasi should do things.
Right.
But then it's very easy. It's as husband and wife being married, there's a lot of rules and regulations and institutions and stuff. You're at some party, some program, some social function in ISKCON or something, and you start joking and laughing and joking with some Mataji, you look over and your wife's looking at you, right?
I mean, I don't know if I've done
just something.
Yeah.
And on the way home, there's going to be a few discussions here. Yeah, and simultaneously because.
Sure.
A guy, many times a girl will pick up right away when some girl is after some emotional relationship with somebody. And simultaneously, a guy will pick up when another guy is like, dealing with a woman in a certain way, which she won't. So then you're protected, and you protect each other. you
Yeah.
know? And that's why in sannyas ashram you don't have that, but you have another facility, which is you do not, if you start, sannyasi starts joking with women, it's going to come up. So many rules and regulations. Yeah.
Yeah.
So every ashram.
Well, Maharaj, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for joining me on the Namras
Thank you,
podcast.
everybody. On campus. Yeah.
If you want to get in touch with Maharaj or see his projects, maybe we can even put the link to the video. Perhaps we'll discuss that after. But the Neos.
Actually, the best place is our webpage,
Okay, yeah, I'll put the link for that in the description.
jayarama.us.
Okay.
Because there's Neos is exoteric, Anjana Sutta Academy is exoteric, esoteric. And that's what we're sticking with now. And
Right.
so jayarama.us.
Jairama.us. I'll get all the other links from Jagat Guru Prabhu. Shout out to him for arranging this interview. I really appreciate Prabhu for pushing for that and making it all happen. Again, thank you, Maharaj. It was really, really wonderful speaking to you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Everyone, please like, subscribe, and comment, and also donate. Hare Krishna. Have a good night.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.